Well, after a year in office, CK Akuno is no longer the coach of the Black Stars. In the last 3 hours, he's been sacked, his contract terminated by the Ghana Football Association. We're going to get into the reason shortly by analyzing this, because the reason why this is significant is the second local coach that has to be sacked because of non-performance. And many are asking, what does his sacking mean for the policy of hiring local coaches? Are we done? Does his exit mean an end to that experiment? And are we going to go back to foreign coaches? So there are big questions to interrogate on the back of what has happened tonight with CK Akuno. And so let's get into it. This is the man there. He is a Black Stars hero. We know him. He played in Germany, was an outstanding captain for the team. And of course, we brought him back. That feel-good factor. The same feel-good factor that the likes of us at Manchester United are feeling and enjoying and basking in with the return of Cristiano Ronaldo is, of course, the glory that many of the, those who play the game in locally also had when CK Akuno returned. Somebody who had been there, had done it with the Black Stars, was returning to coach it. It was a fairy tale beginning with a tragic ending, as we've seen with the sacking of the man himself. And he succeeded another local coach, Kwesi Appiah, in 2020. He himself was sacked. Famously said in one game, his tactics was simply to wait for the opponent to get tired before he makes his changes. So it's been one failed local coach after another. Two of them indeed, and he's the one. So what is going to happen now? These gentlemen have 72 hours. 72 hours to find another coach. And many people watching this tonight say it is pretty obvious that next coach is going to be a foreigner. But that comes with additional cost. A country that is in the firm grip of the post-COVID economic, downturn, can we afford a coach who is going to be taking a lot money a month salary to coach the Black Stars? But that is a job they have. Mark Addo, Vice President of GFA, Haji Salif Uzida, Upper East Regional Football Association Chairman, and of course, him, Randy Abe, who is Executive Council member of the GFA. That is their task in the next 72 hours. The key question also to ask is 72 hours enough to find an able replacement for CK Akuno? We'll talk about that shortly here on PMS. But this is, for me, is key. This statistics that my research desk and Kofi and his team had put together is fantastic, because it tells you if you're going to sack a coach, you sack him based on his winnings and his losses. You do a fair average, so you can tell yourself, is this man the right man for the job? If you look at the games he's played, CK Akuno, since we appointed him, he's played 10 matches in all. He's won 4, lost 4, and drawn 2. So his win percentage is 40%. Same as his loss percentage, which is 40%. He's drawn 2. So the key question is, if you were judging him purely based on these results, is it enough to warrant his sacking? Or the GFA is looking at something else, his tactical nuance on the pitch, and the 2 games we played so far in the World Cup qualifiers, maybe they watched it and said, goodness me, this can't be a coach for the Black Stars. He's just not showing enough on the pitch, managing the team we have. But another big question to ask is it the coach or the materials he has at hand? Talking about the players. I mean, if your squad is poor, not even a Pep Guardiola can do magic for you. And maybe that's what we need to be talking about. What is the big question? The person you're going to get next, what can the person do with the players that we have? Again, if you look at goals for and against, if you have goals against us, he has conceded 12 goals, right? But scored as many as 9. And I mean, if you look at the 10 matches he's played so far, scoring 9, that is not a bad return. So really, what are the hard facts that inform this decision? We'll get into that. We'll speak to those who know. And we've changed a lot of coaches since 1958 to date. 47 by our count. That's a lot. Are we giving enough time for our coaches to groom and nurture and impose their philosophy on the teams? Look at what England is doing. They've had one coach for a very long time, Gareth Southgate. They say the English sometimes can celebrate, not achieving too much, but he's done a lot. because he's been there for quite a while. Joachim Low of Germany, again, was there for so long, built young players and groomed them up to become stars in the German national team. Are we giving enough time to our coaches to imprint, put their own mark on the national team? Because 1 year is certainly not enough to get a coach to impart his ideas, some may argue. So we'll look at that too. The implications are a lot. Now, if you look at the foreigner versus local coach ratio, we've done 33 indigenous, 33 locals, and 24 foreigners. One of the things we need to do is to see which of these groups have achieved more for us in terms of winning cups and winning matches. That will be an interesting dynamic to also look at. So tonight we're going to be speaking to a few of my guests who are joining us tonight. Gary Al Smith is joining us via Zoom. Also joining me is Coach Nana Agyeman, also joining me tonight. In fact, it is to Nana Agyeman I want to start this conversation, Nana. Nana, thank you very much for joining me here. Also, Gary, thank you very much. I want to start with the statistic that I put up earlier when you talk about he's played 10 games, he's won 4, lost 4, drawn 2. I mean, 40% win, 40% loss percentage. If you're looking at that, is that enough basis to sack a coach? And also considering that he's just been there for 1 year, have we been fair? Have we been fair to Siki Akono?
Well, I think that's a good question. I think to a certain extent we haven't been fair to him because, you see, it's an issue of time divided by targets. And although he's been there for a year, what we've done is given him an extremely tall mountain to climb, which is qualified for the AFCONs, which, okay, yes, we normally qualify anyway, and also to be placed in the semi-finals of the World Cup. Those things are very tall for me, for him, because it's not as if he's been coaching for 10 years or anything. He's had some short stints, which in parts have been quite successful, and it's put him up there. And there's a backstory to that, but we won't go in there. But it's about time and targets. And you see, and it's also about the way we've lost those 4 games as well, the way we play. It doesn't look like things are going to get any better. And despite the 40% winning, I mean, the last time we won it, what a fluke. And one of our sports presenters or journalists wrote that it was a screamer. It was a shot from about 35 yards Wakaso, and I give him credit for that because it was on target, but it just slipped through the goalkeeper's fingers and through his legs and went in the back of the net. It was harmless, and so when you win games like that and then lose against South Africa in the way you lost, you just can't see any light at the end of the tunnel. So these are factors. So I think that, on the one hand, because of the steep targets that we were set, perhaps we weren't fair to him. Perhaps we set him up to fail even. But essentially, when you look at the statistics and then you consider how we lost the game and even how we won the game, because we didn't even play the game to win. We were just fortunate. He kicked it at the goal and the goalkeeping blunder, 1-0. That's it. When you consider those factors, then you've got to say, well, enough is enough.
Yeah, I mean, Gary, it's the same question. I mean, let's look at the hard facts. He has been there 12 months, tops. He's played 10 games, lost 4, drawn 2, and won 4. If looking at that, I mean, is that enough basis to sack a coach?
Thank you, and welcome to everybody on the show, Nana G, and also to Jerome, and to you, Evans, as well. Is it enough basis? Percentages-wise, some may say that it is not enough time. However, Black Stars or national team jobs are rarely about just the percentages or the numbers. They're about a whole lot more than that. And I'm sure that in the next 45 minutes, as we discuss the nuances, we will come to those. Why has he been sacked then? He has been sacked because the people who gave him the job, as Nana G said, and I don't want to repeat the stuff that Nana G said, but I agree 100% with what Nana Agyeman said, that as a nation, we set Siki Akono up to fail. Why did we set him up to fail? Evans, we all knew, you knew in the studio, when Kwesi Appiah was sacked, Evans, you knew that we did not have a team that was a world beater. You knew.
Yeah.
Everybody knew.
Yeah.
And yet, when CK Akono was given the job, we all watched. And when I say we, I mean our leaders are a reflection of us. So we all watched as our leaders, one after the other, kept saying that qualify for the AFCON and go and win the AFCON. When everybody knew that CK Akono, maybe he was a coach who was going to learn from his mistakes as he went along. But we knew that we could not give him the support he needed to win the AFCON. We also knew that he did not have the material necessary to win the AFCON one touch. We knew, but we all watched as our leaders said that. A couple of months ago, the president of our country said at a breakfast meeting that the target for CK Akono, because they were going to get money, from corporate Ghana and all that, was for CK Akono to win the Africa Cup of Nations and to win and to get to the semi-final of the World Cup. I mean, Evans.
Yeah.
We did not even give the 2010 team who had gotten to the final of an Africa Cup of Nations, we did not even set them that target before they went to South Africa.
Yes.
Why then would we do that to a team that has just crashed out in Egypt in the manner that they did? Why have we done this to CK Akono? We have been very unfair. So forget about the statistics for a moment. But all of us have done a great disservice to this man who we gave the job in the hope that he was going to learn and develop with all of us. So that's my answer.
Yeah, but Jerome, if you take that point into consideration, what Gary had just said there, the man himself must take some responsibility for what has happened, right? We saw the games recently, and after the game, to be very fair, if you were, and this is a national team, if the FA was just listening to the Ghanaian football lover, this decision was a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
So clearly something was wrong from those games, and the decision was inevitable.
Yeah, I'm not surprised CK is gone. It comes as no surprise at all, because Evans, a lot of things have been wrong with us as a country. Taking into consideration our football. If you want to talk about coaching, as we are doing now, it's a huge subject. But even before I talk about CK, one of the problems that we have had, which I will agree with Gary when he says we've overlooked so many things. One of the things that we have overlooked in sacking CK is the quality of players we have. The players we have had in the current Black Stars are not players a coach of CK's caliber can turn around even in 2 years. And I think that is one area we will have to pay attention to as we go forward. The quality of players we have are not the best. Now, if you put that aside, CK himself, yes, I agree, must take part of the blame. But the question to ask is, was he going to step away, or was he going to really put a job down and say, look, things are not good for me and I would have to leave it for you guys to find someone else to continue? He wasn't going to do that. All he was waiting for was to face the sack, and that is what has happened. As a country, I think we wake up every day and get to talk about things that we don't even believe in. Gary was talking about how we were thinking of, qualifying for the World Cup and making it to the last four. How was that going to happen with the quality of players we have? How was that going to happen with the kind of coach we have? Even winning the AFCON, it's taken us close to 40 years to do it, and we've not been able to do it. And we wake up all of a sudden and think of making the last four of the World Cup. It's an impossibility, given the circumstances we have presently. So I think we've done so much talking and little thinking into the way we are managing the Black Stars and football in general. And this CK case is a clear example.
Nana Agyemang, so let me ask you then, did the FA just take the easiest way out of this? Because it is easier to sack a coach, but far more difficult to put in place the structures that will produce the next line of superstars for us, the Michael Essieans, the Sule Muntaris. That is far more difficult thing to do. So sack a coach now because the public simply unhappy, appease them, get somebody else in. Is this papering over the cracks?
No, not exactly, because it wasn't exactly the easiest thing to do, because they also have to eat humble pie as well over the sack. Yeah, because it's like, why did you appointing if we all knew these things? Well, part of the reason was the squeeze of government was on, because they pay the salary, and they were also obeying, like all of us, to say, well, we must have a local coach. We were all obeying for that. Now, the fact of the matter is, he didn't do himself any favours in certain matches that we've seen. Certainly in the last two matches, it was clear. And so, you know, naturally, he was a part of the problem.
So now forgive me, as a coach, when you watch him, what was CK's defect? What was his problem with the team?
Well, I think it starts before the match, you see, and that's how you blend the players together. You've got these players, they're playing all around the place, they're learning different styles and formations and all this kind of stuff, tactics, etc. And then you come home and you find that we're doing a Abiba up and a Abiba down. And the players lose respect for you.
Oh,
now, we've seen
what is Abiba up, Abiba down, and what's that?
Well, you ask me. The fact of the matter is this. I'll draw your attention to something that happened when Kwesi Appiah was there. One of the players came out to say that his coaching sessions weren't teaching them anything. It was even more than one of the players. It was quite a few of the players. And if you went to the Accra Stadium and you saw a coaching session, let me put it this way, you were less than impressed. These things have telltale signs on players, because they respect you if they think you know the game. We've had bust-ups on the pitch. I'm substituting you, then something happened, or players on the touchline giving instructions, and and people will want to draw some examples and say, oh well, Ronaldo did that, but sorry, we're not in that elk, we're not on that level, so we don't need to say those things. But basically, when you talk about the Essians and the Lai Kingstons and all those kinds of players, they came out of the Colt system. And in fairness to the GFA, they've just started the revival of that, because that's how we got those best players that we had before, that really set the standard. And the standard that the Essians and the Appiahs and the Muntaris and the Kingstons and the Painstills, what they set, we've never attained since that. It's always mix and match. And my biggest thing, because you do have a point about the players, and Jerome said it, I've heard Gary say it, we don't have the quality. We kid ourselves. We talk about key players. Where are they? Because I don't know any of them. And I always harp on about having this selection criteria. Because when you have a selection criteria, you're not going to select a player who hasn't played competitively for 100 days and tell him that he's the main striker, he's the target man, and they should aim for him. Because he doesn't have any match fitness. He can't deliver what you want him to deliver. Do you understand you? And the other part of it is, how much attention do we give to our local boys anyway? There's no program to develop any of our local boys. It's because Hearts of Oak have won the league and there's a lot of noise being made. Okay, then we'll drop a Hearts of Oak player in there, who totally lost his way, by the way. But, we have to reorganize. And I think the key to this is development. Forget about winning the AFCON. Forget about it for now. Forget about the semi-final of the World Cup. We don't have a team. We don't have any key players. Our players are playing in parts of the world where the level of football is not that high, but the money is fantastic. That's not what should be the criteria to get you into the national team. We've compromised for too much, telling our own selves lies that we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Then we plough so much money into football without getting any returns at all. And we leave all the other sports dormant. And where there is potential, people sit there with their potential in their hands, no one to assist them, and all they want to do is represent the country, and they're never going to get the opportunity because we're pouring all the money down the drain with that senior national team.
I mean, like, Gary, so if all I hear is we don't have the team, we don't have the players, we don't have the material. So what can another coach do? Certainly, another coach cannot do magic. If the players aren't there, the players aren't there.
Okay, that's a good question. And this is my answer. We have mentioned in this conversation the Appiahs, the Muntaris, let's look at the trajectory of their growth. Mariano Barreto had them in the Olympics in 2004. We didn't do much with them. 2005, we qualified, or 2005 going to 2006, we qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations. We went to the Africa Cup of Nations. We came out after the group stages. We gave the team to Ratomir Dukovic, who took us to the World Cup, right, in 2006. With these same players who didn't do too much, but that we were transitioning from being developing players into the national team, he took them to the World Cup, and we see what they did. What changed? Coaching. So let's remember, between 2005 and 2006, June, when we went to the World Cup, we had, for all intents and purposes, what were average or just above average players. Nana G, Jerome, I think we can agree with that.
Yeah.
Based on their form and what they had done in their careers, Stephen Appiah, Asamoah was in Italy, he was now coming up. He needed somebody to trust in him and give him the opportunity and to coach him well. And we got that in Ratomir Dukovic. It was coaching. Fast forward after 2006, the next major tournament for us was the Africa Cup of Nations, which we hosted here. Claude Leroy was given the job. Very experienced man, but a man who was bold enough to make some tough calls when then I think it was 25 million people were coaching the Black Stars, and he took some tough calls. For example, he put in a teenage Andre Ayew into the team, and he said, I am taking responsibility for putting this boy in. We know what people said. Oh, he's a small boy, somebody who is already made. And he said, I am Claude Leroy. I gave a 17-year-old Samuel Eto'o the opportunity in the Cameroonian national team first, because I saw what I saw in Samuel Eto'o. The rest, they say, is history. With Samuel Eto'o, we saw what the introduction of Samuel Eto'o into the Cameroonian national team when he was 17 and 18 did to his confidence and his career. And we saw what that same confidence did to Andre Ayew. The following year, we, Ghana, reaped the benefits of that confidence because Selassie Tete saw the development of Andre and made him the captain. In the 2019. We had a coach who could stick to his guns and take responsibility, and also developed the capabilities of some of our best players in that 2018. It was coaching. 2009, we had Milovan Rahivac, who was then in charge, who was now coming in charge of our local Chan team. And then subsequently, he was in charge of our 2010 team. Nana Jiman will tell you, Jerome Otri will tell you, Milovan Rahivac was this close to sacking some of our senior players from the 2010 team in South Africa. He was this close. He only did not sack them because, just like we like doing all the time, our elders said, oh, please keep him in the team. Otherwise, he was going to sack Sule Muntari from the Ghana national team. So Evans, Goran Stefanovic, same. Avram Grant, same. We saw what all these coaches did. And guess what, Evans? This is not me saying, the evidence on the face of the pink sheet suggests that every one of these players, every one of these coaches, since Claude Leroy was able to take us to at least the semi-final of the Africa Cup of Nations. Why? Because despite all the politics that we always have, they stuck to their guns and they did not allow the nonsense that we always do in imposing players on them to sway them. Guess what? It is only when we started giving the coaching role to Ghanaians. And Evans, again, this is not me saying, these are facts. It is only when we said, let's give the coaching job to Ghanaians that we saw what happened in Brazil happen. Again, this is not Gary Al Smith saying, it is facts.
Yeah.
When we reverted to a foreign coach in Avram Grant, can anybody on this call remind me of how far we went? We went to the final of the African Cup of Nations again. Evans, I am not saying it. It is evidence-based. And then we said, we are giving the coaching role back to a local coach. We see what has happened again. So, I have written on Facebook and Twitter this evening, and I said, there is no Ghanaian coach in Ghana right now, none, who can withstand. I did not say that there is no coach who is tactically good enough. I'll park that to another side. I am saying, Evans, we do not have a coach in Ghana who we can give the Black Stars to, who can withstand the social and political pressures from the authorities. I don't want to name the authorities. Your guess is as good as mine.
Listen.
So what is my solution?
No, hold on.
Yeah.
Don't come to the solution yet, because we're going to reserve the last 15 minutes for that, because there's a lot you've said that I need to unpack with Nana Agyeman and Jerome. I want to take a quick break. When I return, is the local coaching experiment, the local coach experiment over now with the sacking of CK Akono? Stay with me. And you're still live here on PM Express on the night when we are looking back on that name, CK Akono. He used to be a Black Stars hero. He became a coach of the national team, something that he captained, and now has been sacked in just 1 year. But the thing is, he's the second local coach to be sacked. And so to the big question now, Jerome Otri, Gary Al Smith, Nana Agyeman. Jerome, let me start with you. So we've experimented now. We are at a point said, let's change our policy. Let's only employ local coaches. This is the second local coach to be sacked in this period. I asked the question, is this experiment over now with the sacking of CK Akono? Is it done?
Evans, if we are any serious people, we don't need a local coach now. We need to be very serious with what we are doing with the senior national team. If we are so desirous of playing in the last four of the World Cup, which I think is an impossibility now, if we are so much interested in achieving that, then we have to think foreign. And in thinking foreign, it's not just any foreign coach. We should be clear what we want to achieve with the Black Stars and go in for a coach who can deliver that target. If it's the winning of the AFCON, again, we must be clear how we want to do it and then go in for someone we believe can really get a job done. Otherwise, a year by now, we'll be back here talking about another fiasco. I do not think, like I said earlier, I do not think we've done real thinking into what we want to do with the senior national team. It's been talk, and nothing else. This is a country that claims to have $25 million for a Black Stars project, but cannot even invest $100,000 into the appointment of a senior national team coach. And I do not see any seriousness in what we are doing. I would wish that we break the bank, go in for someone who really knows what it is to coach a senior national team, and in the next few weeks or months, try and turn things around for us with the kind of quality we have. The quality we have is not good, but if we get a coach who is sharp enough and knows what it means to do this job, maybe we'll get something out of it. And then there's another thing we need to look at. I am under no illusion that the current FA system we have now interferes with the selection or in the selection of players into the team. And the GFA president himself made that clear, that in April, this era was going to be the last time we will have one person deciding on who plays for the national team. And I think there's everything wrong with that. Nana Agyeman talked about having a criteria for selecting players. Do we have anything like that? It is because there's nothing like that. That is why the FA president believes that even if a coach decides on who he thinks will play for the Black Stars, he must go through a so-called process so that there's a scrutiny of his selection. And if the system that is running football in the country doesn't like certain players in the team, they will take them out. That should also stop. If we are going in for a foreign coach, like Gary alluded to, we would have to see an end to that, because I do not see any serious coach on the international level who will allow his selection to go through that process the FA president talks about.
I mean, Nana Agyeman, same question. Is the local coach experiment now dead and buried?
No, it's not. It's not dead and buried. Far from that. You know, what it is, it's about coach education. That's what it's all about. And you see, when Kurt Okraker was elected, I remember him saying stuff like, or it was part of his manifesto or whatever, that when you won the Premier League, then you would go to some other country in Europe and do some refreshing course and this and that, and also with Division 1 and all these kinds of things. Now, he said that for a reason. Whether it's happening or not, that's immaterial. But he said it for a reason, and it's the same reason that I hold very dear. The level of coach education in Europe is totally different to what coach education here is on the continent. The coach education over there, for want of a better word, is scientific, and ours is definitely unscientific. You know, it's jujutific and full of spiritualism. I'm being very serious, and full of spiritualism. The key to this coaching experiment is taking some. I don't want to say some key coaches or whatever, but taking some coaches that can range from being a C category coach to a B to an A, who shows an aptitude for learning and a good potential, and dropping them off in Germany for a couple of years to take the UEFA A license. I've been saying this for years, because this CAF A license be joke thing. It be joke. All the license there, you've heard me say it before, they're a joke. Right? You see the paperwork and all that, where they photocopy, some you can read, some you can't read, yet you charge some high price to take them on the course and blah, blah, and they come out with a certificate or whatever, and basically the mind is still blank. Because when you go to those courses, if you miss a couple of days, you still get your certificate. But when you do the course in Germany and the UK and whatnot, and you miss one day, you start everything all over again. You've got to pay your fee again. You get all your paperwork and everything again. You must start everything all over again. There's no little, me pal Cho, and you can come through there and you get your certificate. No. Coach education is where we have to go back to if we want local people, local coaches to manage our Black Stars. Because what is it that the expatriate coach has that the local coach doesn't have? It's the education, it's the knowledge, it's the science behind the whole thing. And that makes them command that respect. Don't care who you are. I'm the coach. I'm the one who determines whether you play or not, and you do as I tell you to do, or you take a walk. No Ghana coach can tell anybody in that team whether they're good or not. They can take a walk. No one. Because even the player knows that you as the coach, you're not up to scratch, because what I do every day in Lithuania makes what you're doing at the Accra Sports Stadium like, whoa, so sad. So sad. So it's got to be coach education, because you called it a project, and I think that is the project we must embark on, because the president of the GFA recognized that there was this issue, and so he said that coaches that win the league on the various levels, you go abroad to Europe to go and learn. That's what he said, because he knows that there's a difference, right? there is a clear difference in how things are taught here, how things are done here culturally, and how things are done over there. It's professional over there, it's cultural over here, spiritual over here, it's over there.
Yeah,
and football. Look, Ronaldo scored a goal today. If you listen to the analysis, they were talking about the fact that he ran at over 20 miles an hour with somebody on his shoulder. That's how deep they went. They went into the thing. That's how deep they go. We don't go that deep. And even if when you interview the coaches, they say, God being so good and we won the game. I mean, all these things have to stop. Provide an analysis. The crowd want to see your knowledge expressed in how you put the players out on the field, the different roles you gave them, the way you switch plays when you were under some serious challenge, the substitutions that you played that came to change the face of the game. The fans want to see that, because when they watch the EPL and La Liga and Serie A, they see it every week, non-stop. They see the brilliance of the players, the skill, the determination, the dexterity, the whole 9 yards. We don't see it here. We don't see it.
So let me.
We don't even focus on our players. We've got good players in this league, you know. But if you don't continue to nurture, it's all about repetition.
Yeah.
If you don't continue that repetition, you won't make an ordinary player into a great player. And we don't give our players any time at all. As soon as we think, yes, they know how to tie their boots,
we sell them.
Israel, Finland, Norway, Switzerland, we're not thinking. The clubs themselves, the club owners, they're not thinking about national team. They think about themselves anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
we're not thinking in one accord about the national team.
I want to bring in Gary on this. So let's start looking forward now. The FA statement gave us a sense of what they want to do now, and I'll start with that very briefly on this one, because they have set a 3-man team to look for the next coach. Gary, they've given them 72 hours. Is that enough to look for a coach that can take us a long run?
Let me just save everybody Jerome, Jerome, give me the word. Let me just save everybody the trouble and just interpret what the 72 hours means. The English translation of that statement is that they already have somebody lined up, but they are just going to take 72 hours to look at how to announce it to us. Okay. They already know who they are going to who they are going to announce. They are not going to look for anybody, Evans Spencer. Don't bother your head. Okay. So they know who they are going to give it to. Nanaji, why are you laughing?
Okay. So if that is what it is, then it comes back to the next question. And Gary, I'm staying with you.
Sure.
First of all, before I come to names, we've talked about foreign coaches, I think so, that's broadly. But what kind of a coach, knowing the problems that the Black Stars as a squad is facing now, what kind of a coach do we need now for this current Black Stars that we have?
What the first thing, I'm sure a lot of viewers will be surprised by this, but the first criteria I will look for, if I'm being objective in choosing a Black Stars coach now, is somebody who is not going to take any nonsense from the powers that be. That is the first criteria I will take.
Yeah.
Evans, you know why?
Tell me.
Because despite what a lot of people believe, I actually think that CK Akono and Kwesi Appiah before him have been able to assemble a database of about 50 to 60 really decent players that a coach who is allowed to do the job his way can do a decent job with us, for us. That's what I think.
Okay.
So that would be my first criteria. Because even in Ghana right now, remember I said that I don't think that we don't have coaches who are tactically good.
Yeah.
Without mentioning names, Kotoko are going to announce Prosper Nati Ogum as their new coach. Heart of Oak have Samuel Boadu as their coach as well. In only these two, if we give these two a free hand and give them the Black Stars, for example, we say we were going for a local coach, and we're honest with ourselves and continued nurturing, Nana Jiman's word, nurturing them on the go. Okay, these two guys, let's just take these two guys. Give them a year and say that they should go to the Africa Cup of Nations. They could do a decent job. But because we will not allow a local coach the room to operate, that's why I will say go for a foreign coach.
Yeah.
Secondly, I'll go to Jerome's point. Right now on the continent of Africa, we are, unfortunately for Ghana, just when we decided to say go for the Africa Cup of Nations trophy again, the tournament has been expanded to 24 teams. Each of these 24 teams is not joking, Evans. Many of these teams are not paying their coaches. Even the lowliest are not paying their coaches the 25,000 we're paying CK Akono. Evans Mensah, you went to the London School of Economics. Why did you go to the London School of Economics?
Because we wanted to, earn more.
Exactly.
Bottom line.
I have just spent 3 weeks on leave. I have gone to study at the Premier League. I have been to BT Sports. I have been to Sky Sports. You know why? You know why I did that? And I have gone there and I have gone to do programs just to tell myself and remind myself that I am world class. You understand?
Yeah.
I know that when I put Evans Mensah on those programs, I know that if I put you on the BBC right now and I say that host focus on Africa, all they need to do is to tell you their house style because Evans Mensah can do it.
Yeah.
Yes. It is why Komla Dumont came from Joy FM, went to BBC and bamboozled them because Joy FM and Joy News is a world-class organization.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If we want to win the AFCON, I have said that shouldn't be our focus, but just in case we are obstinate and stubborn enough, just to finish in 1 minute, and we say that as for us, we want to win the AFCON or to finish in the final 3 of the AFCON or final 4, we should pull the checkbook out. You know the going rate for somebody who can take you to the final 4 of the AFCON now? The going rate, Evans?
Tell me.
Let me let Jerome tell you what the going rate is. Jerome, please tell us what's the going rate for a coach.
Jerome, same question to you. What caliber of coach are we looking for?
We are not going to have anything. We are not going to have any coach below $80,000 a month.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey. $80,000 a month. In this economy.
So Evans, I don't want to say it's what I say it's me. Jerome. So you let Jerome tell you.
In this economy, $80,000. I want to do the conversion rate. You go on.
So yeah, Jerome, take over.
Jerome, yes.
My point.
So
if
Jerome,
we really want to go as far as the president of Ghana wants us to go, that is how much we have to pay.
Yeah, I mean, Gary, just a second. I want to get Jerome to expand on this point. Jerome, why should we pay one person $80,000?
Because we want to be in the last 4 of the World Cup. And check the countries that have been in the last 4 of the World Cup in the last 2 or 3 World Cups, and you know the caliber of coaches they have. They are not coaches who are owed 8 to 10 months' salary, and they are still on the job. They are not that type of coach. You see, we seem to think that at that level, like Nana was saying, it is about hope and prayer. It's about the cultural things we believe in and the spiritual things. We will hire a coach, give him $35,000. 2-3 months later, he will be told that the salary has been slashed. Such a coach cannot earn you a place in the last 4 of the World Cup. We need to think big. The first time I heard that we are allocating $25 million to the Black Stars, I thought it was a joke. But indeed, if it is true, then we need to break the bank, like I said, and go in for a coach whose caliber can deliver the kind of things or the kind of expectation we have. From what I'm hearing, and I'm sorry if it is not going to happen, fine. But from what I'm hearing, if it's going to be the technical director who has been around us, then we are only replacing a dead man with a man also on his line. Deathbed.
Jared, what have you heard? Jared, what have you heard? Who is going to be getting?
What I've heard is that the technical director, as we have now, is being considered, and I'm saying that if he is the one we are considering, It is akin to replacing a dead man with someone on his lying bed. He's lying on his deathbed.
Interesting.
We need to be serious as a country. From everything the three of us have been saying, it paints a picture of a country that believes that we can do just anything and still get the kind of results others who are serious are getting. Nana Agyeman talked about development. Ghana is about the only country that plays a so-called competitive league, and at the end of the season, the top players in the league cannot even sit on the bench of the senior national team.
Yeah.
For example, the top scorer has no chance in the national team. The best defender has no chance in the national team. If the best goalkeeper is lucky, he will be considered and put somewhere to more or less make it look like the coaches handling the senior national team, pay attention to the league. Evans, everything we are doing doesn't show we are serious.
Okay.
And we would have to reinforce this point. If the coach comes in and he will not be given the freedom to work, we are going to come back to this position again.
Yeah.
Because we still want to do things the way we like it and not how others do it professionally. Gary talked about having Samuel Boadu and Prosper, the incoming Kotoko coach, having them, handle the Black Stars. It could be a possibility. But I tell you, these two guys cannot work because we will not allow them to do the kind of work they know, how to.
Yeah, I have a minute to wrap up. I want to quickly to share that very quickly with Nana. Nana, so we are looking forward. We've heard the caliber of coaches and thoughts on that. In a minute, what are you also looking forward to? We've talked broadly about what needs to change at a more fundamental level, but at the coaching level, we've heard the various thoughts. What's your own take on? And do you possibly have a name out there that you want to throw in? We should consider very briefly in the 60 seconds.
Well, to be honest with you, if I'm going in for a coach now, an expatriate coach, I'm going in for a coach who understands our terrain. And the type of coach I'm going in for is a coach who's won the African Cup of Nations already. He's tasted it. He knows what he's doing in order to get just an ordinary group of players to turn them into superstars. So, quite frankly, there's one name that's always been on my mind, and I think we ought to go with him. He's up north. He's up North Africa at the moment. Hervé Renard. He's probably earning about
Saudi Arabia now. Saudi Arabia. So he's look, for me, I can tell him, win the African Cup of Nations. You've got all rights to do everything or anything you want to do. In your professional opinion, there's $120,000 a month.
What?
Simple. Then I feel,
Did I hear 100 and what?
Didn't you hear what Gary said? He's in Saudi Arabia. Do you think he's being paid in cities? He's in Saudi Arabia, right? He's got a contract already. Here's $120,000 a month. Bring in your own assistant and any other people you wish to assist you and win the African Cup of Nations. That,
okay.
I think, is fair. I'll give you a free hand. Finish.
Okay.
Qualify for the World Cup.
Gary, 30 seconds. You wanted to bullet for me what, for you, the solution is to the big problems that you identified earlier.
Everything has been said.
Okay.
So I wouldn't even waste your time.
Okay.
So all I will say is, you are asking who I think we should.
Yeah.
Evans, I absolutely have no name. Anybody, they should be honest with themselves to give the person the free hand. And I think that's our biggest challenge.
Okay.
Appoint whoever, let him work. That's it.
So the $80,000 that Jerome said minimum we should be paying in Ghana terms is 500,000 cedis. 500,000 cedis. That is 500,000 cedis a month. Now, if you go with Nana Agyeman, and in Nana Agyeman was talking about Renard taking 120,000. That is 723,000 cedis a month. Well, if that's what it takes to bring back the love, that's what it takes to bring back the love. Enjoy the rest of your evening.